This is the plaintiff, Marcus Slayman. He says he was driving a truck and got pulled over for too much weight and was given a citation because he didn't have a commercial driver's license. The defendants haven't paid him in full for his trip from New York to California, and he wants the $3,386.80 he's owed and is suing for it. These are the defendants, Felix Carlos Campos Jr. and Carlito Campos Santiago. They said the plaintiff hit a tree and didn't tell them about it, so they deducted the damage from his pay. The guy's also suing them for a lawyer because he got a ticket, but it wasn't a moving violation and he didn't need a lawyer, so they're not paying. They're accused of trucking up a trucker.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff says that he drove a truck from New York to California, and now the defendant won't pay him for his work. But the defendant says the guy hit a tree and damaged the truck so badly he deducted that from his pay. It's the case of trucking up a trucker.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Slayman, you are suing Campos Sol Relocation LLC, represented here by Felix Carlos Campos and Carlito Campos, because according to you, you were hired to do a job and promised a certain pay, and they cut your pay and won't pay you what they owe you. Tell me what happened here.
Okay, so I met Carlito through doing some work with him. In the past, we used to work for a moving company, and he's a truck driver, and we had a very good relationship. Okay, so on Saturday, September 5th, I received a call from Carlito stating that his son Felix needed a driver to drive from Florida to New York to California and back to Florida.
Wow.
Right. We had a verbal agreement that my salary would be $1,500 per week.
So you're hired to drive, and it's going to take how many weeks to do all this? To go Florida, New York to California?
The trip ended up taking 3 weeks.
Yeah. And at the end of the first week, did you get paid?
I did not.
What did they say to you?
They told me I had to wait until we finish in California, which was 2 weeks after we started.
All right. And did that sit well with you?
It did not.
Okay. Well, what had been the agreement? Were you supposed to get paid after each week?
We didn't specify. I was under the assumption that I would get paid weekly.
Okay. All right. So what ends up happening?
Okay. So we made the trip to New York. We made several stops along the way. We unloaded it. We filled back up in New York. We made our way to California. On our way to California, I ended up getting pulled over where the truck was overweight. I did not have a commercial driver's license, and I ended up getting cited for the truck being overweight without no valid commercial driver's license.
So I don't understand. Do you need a commercial driver's license or you don't? Or you can only be overweight?
When the truck is overweight.
Somebody with a commercial driver's license can have an overweight truck.
That is correct. I just recently found out if it's over 26,001 pounds, it requires a commercial driver's license.
Okay. All right. So what happens?
So I ended up getting cited, and we had to have Carlito come pick the truck up, and we swapped trucks. I drove the truck that he was driving, and we made our way to California.
Okay. So what happens in California?
Okay, so in California, we unloaded all 3 trucks, and then after the job, he paid all of the helpers, because at each stop, like throughout all the trips, there was helpers there to help us. And at the end of each job, all the helpers were paid. So I was not paid, and then I got mad, and I demanded payment, and I received a payment in amount of $600 that day. He told me, you don't have to worry about it.
He who? Which one?
You don't have to worry about Felix.
Felix, the son.
He explained to me, right. He explained to me that you're with us. You don't have to worry about not getting paid. So he made a payment of $600, and he told me he'll pay me the rest at the end of the trip.
Okay. Did anybody tell you, hey, we're going to pay you less?
No, not at that time. They didn't tell me that until I got back to Florida when all the trucks were unloaded.
And then what did they tell you in Florida?
When we returned to Florida and all the trucks were unloaded, they said, we're only going to be able to pay you $3,500 for the trip and we're also going to take out $1,000 because the truck was damaged.
And was the truck damaged?
The truck was damaged, but we did not do a pre-trip inspection, and there were multiple people driving the trucks because, like, throughout the whole 3 weeks, multiple people had to move the trucks around when we were loading and unloading.
Okay. Do you remember damaging the truck yourself? Was there ever a time when that you?
You know what? Honestly, I'm not. I don't recall. It's possible. It is possible that the truck might have been damaged, but I never.
That's not my question. My question is, did you damage it? Because it looks like the damage that's on the truck that I got pictures of look like, the truck hit an overhang tree or something, a limb. Do you recall anything like that happening?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor. Yes, I damaged the truck.
Okay. All right. So now you get to Florida and all of a sudden he tells you what? That he's going to pay you how much?
$3,500 for the truck. And minus $1,000 for the truck damage.
Okay, now what's going on, Mr. Campos?
Okay, so this is the situation. When I asked my dad to find somebody, I had worked Marcus before. We had did another job, and he worked really good. So I said, when my dad offered to bring him on to drive for us, I said, okay, that's fine. I liked his attitude. He was a hard worker, and I told my dad, I said, listen. We let him know that, our pay would be anywhere from $1,200 to a maximum of $1,500 a week.
Wait, what's that? So what does that mean? We'll pay you anywhere from this to this. There has to be. All right. So what amount did you settle on?
That's the thing. Marcus never discussed anything with me specifically. Okay. And if I'm the person that's paying you, why wouldn't you come to me and talk to me? Everything was through my dad.
Well, apparently you're sending your dad to speak with him. So I have the same question of you.
Because
how much was he offered to drive? Nobody drives for an approximate. Nobody takes a job that says, well, we'll pay you between X and X. It's a specific amount. What was a specific amount?
That's what I told my dad. And I told my dad anywhere for $1,200. I said the minimum he would get paid is $1,200 because I did not know. You have to understand when we're picking up jobs in different states, I don't know what I'm picking up yet, so I can't promise somebody $1,500, and I'm not making enough the money to cover the truck, to cover him, and cover everything else.
Oh, yet somebody could take 3 weeks to drive all over Hell's Acres and not know how much he's going to get paid. That I need to understand too?
He had a ballpark figure of
a ballpark figure. Okay. All right. So then what happens?
So then we get to California. We went up some crazy hills and stuff like that. We got done at nighttime, so we'll start coming down. I didn't know I had damage to my truck, and neither did my dad until the next morning. Marcus never told us that he hit a tree or anything. Like, his damage on his truck was significant enough where you hit something.
Okay. When did you notice the damage to the truck?
I didn't notice until the next morning when Marcus told my dad, never told me, told my dad that the truck was damaged.
Okay. And then what happened?
I went over there and I looked at the truck and I seen that he hit a tree. And I said, Marcus, how do you not know that you hit a tree? And he says, oh, I don't know. It was dark. Okay, granted. I said, listen, we have, I think a couple hours later, after I calmed down, I told him, listen, there's damage to that truck. There's $1,000 deductible on all the trucks. That is through Penske. That's the insurance that I paid extra for if anything happens to the truck. And I told him, I said, if I get charged it's coming out of your pay because you're in charge of that truck. You're driving that truck. Everybody's in charge of their own truck.
All right. So according to you, there's a conversation between him and your dad in California and what? And your dad, let's hear from your dad. Mr. Campos Sr., can you tell me what it is what conversation you had with him in California?
I told him, I explained to him clearly. I told him, you can come on this trip. You're going to make between $1,200 to $1,500. And I told him clearly before he left with me.
Okay.
$3,600, that's what he got paid, besides the $1,000. I gave him $2,000. My son gave him $600.
Okay.
And I told him in California.
First question, Mr. Slayman. He says he paid you $2,000. Did he? Yes or no?
He gave me $2,000.
And then
yes,
his son, according to him, his son gave you $600. Did he? Yes or no?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Let's take it from there. According to them, Then they gave you $2,600. According to you, you should have gotten $4,500. Is it accurate that it was explained to you that your pay would vary based on the jobs jobs having?
That is not true.
Okay. Do you have any proof, Mr. Campos Sr. or Mr. Campos Jr.? Do either of you have any proof about what the salary would be? Text, emails, anything that would prove to me what the salary was supposed to be?
No, Your Honor, I don't have any texts because that discussion wasn't made with me. That was made with my father and Mr. Marcus himself.
Talk to me about the ticket. Did you tell him that you would pay the ticket?
Absolutely, but he never communicated me about the ticket. He never, after the trip, he was upset, whatever reason, he never contacted me again about anything about the ticket or even asked me, hey, what should I do about this ticket? I told him, listen.
Mr. Slayman, what is it you ended up doing? You hired a lawyer to represent you on the ticket? Why?
Because I lived out of state. I had no way to get back to Iowa. And you
don't have to get back to Iowa. Why didn't you just pay it?
Because I didn't want, they were going to accumulate some points on my license. And I didn't want, I didn't want points on my license for this trip.
And you don't think that's fair to pass the attorney cost to you? Why, Mr. Campos? Because he should just take the points?
No, because you know, Your Honor, as being the judge, they don't automatically give you points. If you don't have an extensive record, a lot of the times they will wait.
Yeah, but you have to go in order to do that. You have to fight. If you pay the ticket by mail, they're probably going to give you the points.
When he told me he got a ticket, I thought it was only for the wait. I didn't realize that he got a ticket for not having a commercial vehicle. Well, I was under the
commercial license, but you were under the impression that he had a commercial license?
No, I was under the impression that it was for only an overweight ticket. It wasn't about the commercial license.
What happened in Florida when you came back, Mr. Slayman?
They waited until I finished all the jobs, 3 weeks of this strenuous labor, to tell me that they're going to not only short my pay from $3,500, but take $1,000 off from the $3,500, paying me the $2,500. And I'm supposed to be okay with that.
In terms of the truck and the damage, I agree with the defendants that, if you damage the truck and it costs them $1,000 deductible, then it costs them $1,000 deductible. But I do agree with you that you weren't a partner in this where if the endeavor makes less money, you're supposed to make less money. I would expect them to be able to prove that you agreed to it. You deny ever having agreed to it. And that's not normally what happens to an employee. They don't share. If they're not going to share in making the big bucks, they're also not going to share in whatever loss there is. That's a partner problem, not an employee problem. And if you want to be able to prove it to a court of law, then have some evidence of what you're saying. That's all, because now it's just your word against his. So I'm finding in favor of the plaintiff in the amount that he should have been owed $4,500. And he was only paid $2,600. That would leave $1,900 that he should be paid. Then there are attorney's fees and court costs. And the problem isn't whether or not the defendants agree to pay for them. It's that they don't want to have to pay for an attorney, and they think that it's excessive. Do you have proof that you paid an attorney $750 to show up in traffic court?
This is it right here.
What's the $400 in emotional distress? What's that about?
I was not able to work for 2 days because I was so furious, and the chemicals in my brain were not settled, so I was not able to work.
I would think you would take 2 days off anyway after a 3-week solid of not taking any days off. How is that something that they should pay you for? Okay, I agree with you on the $1,000. On the rest of the stuff, I agree with him. I don't, unless you're able to carry the burden of proof on your defense, which is, hey, he was going to get paid either this or that, depending on whether our business deal went well, and that's not normally how an employee gets paid. I'm finding that he was supposed to get the $1,500. That would mean that there was a deficit of $1,900. I am going to order you to pay the ticket clinic costs and the court fees for the ticket. because I don't think any of you knew that. I mean, any of you thought he had a commercial license. You should know if your truck is overweight, and you should know if your employee has a commercial license. I'm not going to award any emotional distress. The tolls, I don't think you contest the tolls. So that leads me to a total of $2,886.80. Verdicts for the plaintiff.
So the plaintiff prevails in this case. He's going to get a little over $2,800. He had been suing for $3,300. $2,800 is what he's going to get. Mr. Campos, both of you, let me ask you, what do you think about what the judge decided just now?
Not fair for her to be judging that he never finished the job. His truck was completely loaded. I offloaded it the following week. He shouldn't get paid out because he never finished the job.
I don't think the judge understands the way the moving business and even transportation business goes. You don't get paid. Any driver will tell you this. You get paid on what the job covers. If the job cancels and things cancel, you get paid less.
All right. Well, it was up to you to really explain it that carefully to the judge. Unfortunately, you didn't do it that well. And she has filed against you. I tried to. Obviously, you're not happy. Mr. Slayman, I don't know if you're happy either. You're going to get $2,800, not $3,300. Hey, that's a lot better than...
I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied.
You are?
Yes.
All right, good. Look, have you ever done that kind of work before, or was that the first time? Yeah,
I've been doing.
Quick question.
I've been doing this work for a long time, and ran into plenty of crooks like them.
Okay, thank you very much. Congratulations. All right, Harvey, what's your take?
Doug, I will say, before going to court, a lot of times these matters can be handled by the state's labor commission. You can check it out by going online and seeing if they mediate disputes like that.
I got a lawyer, but it seems they are not helping my case. It's been 2 months since I got any lawyer help. I heard nothing from them. I'm very upset. What can I do?
If you haven't heard from your lawyer for 2 months, that might be a good thing. You never know. I mean, everybody thinks, well, I want my lawyer to keep me up to date on everything that's going on. But it's possible that whatever case this person's involved in is moving slowly, and that a 2-month gap in contact is no big deal. Plus, a lot of lawyers, depending on how the billing arrangement is, use unit billing. So if they're going to call you, that phone call is going on the timesheet and you're getting billed for it. And you have to ask yourself, do I really want another $250, hey, everything's going just fine, expression of keeping me up to date by the attorney. So it's not necessarily a great thing to have constant phone calls.
I'd like to know too, are you saying you've called them and they haven't returned the last 4 phone calls, you've emailed them and they haven't returned?
You?
Are they totally ghosting you, or just, hey, I'd like to be called more often than I'm getting called? Which is it?
Right, but bar complaints, when things really get out of control and you're really being neglected by an attorney, that usually gets their attention as well.
And by bar complaint, every state has a regulatory agency in their bar association that sanctions lawyers, and keeping client contact is one of the things that people are supposed to do.
The mere threat of a bar complaint
usually gets you a call back. It doesn't do much for the relationship, but
it could sour the relationship, and that's a problem as well. But when bar complaints are made, lawyers usually have to respond in writing. It takes a lot of time. It's a pain in the rear, even if they're frivolous, and maybe most of them are. But they take them very seriously. Sometimes they even have to hire their own lawyer to handle the bar complaint. So nobody wants that.